Let's look at front headlocks, and this one will probably cover guard, half guard, and just other kind of positions, but this involves segmental rolling. Warm-up drill that we just did in another video would just be our arms completely relaxed, our body, legs relaxed, and if I wanted to bring myself over, and this is again a talking point for me because I've had other leg injuries, I take my left leg and I want to just use my left leg and reach as far as I need to, have my body go ahead and bring me over, okay? From there, I want my left leg, and only my left leg, and you can see that I'm pushing with my right a little bit, because of having some other stuff, to bring me back over. So instead of trying to lift high, I may have to lift wide. And I would do the same thing with the right. Let's look at the front headlock. When we consider a front headlock, or in guillotine and the different variations, arm in and also regular guillotine, more often than not, we get this idea that when we go to get a grip, we want to go ahead and squeeze this person, okay? What I need to do in a strangulation or front headlock or front choke is separate James's head away from his shoulders. So ultimately I have some kind of control of his neck. So I want to extend it away. It almost sounds counterintuitive that if I go to squeeze him tight, I'm actually flexing my upper body. So what ends up happening, before we even consider any configurations of my legs, if I had just a regular kind of grip, and again, people that have upper body strength and everything will be able to get this finish. If I squeeze my upper body and almost like a bicep curl and pulling tight, James, how's that feel?
It's not that bad, but...
It's not that bad. I still have his head separated, but I'm using way too much force on my upper body, okay? If I extend this away, and by extending, I need to extend my right arm across to the opposite shoulder. So for right now, my right arm is wrapped around his left and his head, and I ultimately want to extend it towards that opposite shoulder, and more so going to go towards that opposite hip. So I need to extend my arm across. How's that feel now?
Much worse.
Now, here's one of the things. When we end up in, and there's many different grips that we can use, some of the stuff I'm not going to show in this. If I end up in this flexion battle where, I'm squeezing, if James goes to rip my arms away underneath, he wants to peel, it now becomes this grip fight. I'm going to lose this and turn your head and wiggle, right? He's got way too much room. Now, if I go to this idea of extending my arm away, and he goes to rip at my arms, I have space here. I want space here. It's okay, because even if he peels at my choking arm, it actually forces me with the opposing force to actually tighten up. I don't want to initiate it right off the bat. So he can peel as much as he wants. How's that feel?
Not good.
Okay. And I don't have to try to squeeze really tight before I actually consider everything else going on. Here's why. If I have him completely connected to me from an upper body standpoint, I can't keep him very tight there and squeeze at the bottom without giving kind of some space, in the midsection, and also giving him an escape. Because if I squeeze up here, and I squeeze here, one thing has to kind of give. And again, we want to extend the head away from the shoulders. So it makes this easier if we worry about extending our legs away, or more so specifically one. So when I get into this position, if I have the arm in set, and again, if I was in a regular front headlock or guillotine, I would just come across that same kind of setup and pull into that opposite hip. My preferred way is to go arm in, because if he peels at this, or for any reason I don't like it, it slides to the inside and it gets even tighter before I do anything else. If I'm in close guard, again, I want to extend my arm towards my opposite hip. How does that feel already?
Not good.
Okay? My right arm is extending towards my left hip. I want my left leg to ultimately segmental roll me belly down the opposite way. Because if I'm having my upper body pull me this way, my left leg is what actually counterbalances me the opposite way. Now, even if I end up in a variation of flexion right now, how does that feel, James?
Not good at
if James goes to move, it doesn't even matter if I really have the hooks in, because ultimately my hooks should be an extension of my choke control, not necessarily the end all be all. Same thing if I'm on the back, same thing if I'm on mount, and then the opposite would be true if it's some kind of limb. My actual hooks in my legs become my control mechanism, and my grips can be a little bit variable. So the nice thing about this, if you watch that setup again, is that here I'm not worried about squeezing hard yet. If I get to my front headlock, James, tuck.
Talking is not there.
Okay. This is naturally going to start to close the distance, pulling to the opposite hip. If I start the segmental roll, one of two things is going to happen. My left leg can get me so far, especially when I have his right hip near me, right, in his near hip. If my left leg can't get me all the way over, then I can use my combination of my right leg actually going underneath it to have me cross midline a little bit easier. Right now, I'm kind of symmetrical to him. The minute that my left leg can get a little bit more over midline, how's that feel?
Okay.
Okay, how's that feel now?
Reverse.
Okay, remember, if I can get my right leg a little to the side and my left leg a little bit more, how's that feel now?
I'm stuck here.
Okay.
Not bad.
But I don't have to squeeze yet.
Mhm.
Now, once I create space, because remember, the limiting factor right now is his hip and knee versus my hip. Talk now.
Terrible.
I don't have to really worry about that configuration on the opposite side. If he decides to go out towards the choke, which wouldn't make any sense, it only gets tighter for him to move. So as he moves, this just invites that roll and makes it even tighter for him. How does that feel?
Terrible.
Okay? I don't really have to use any effort. Go ahead and talk.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let's just go ahead and say I'm going to invite my half guard, right? Which would mean what? My right leg's going to come underneath my left. Which, if you think about it that way, realistically, it's already starting me to bring my left leg past midline. So, I unlock my guard, and now I let him kind of move a little bit. So look, I use my right leg to get inside. How's that feel already? Okay? I haven't had to do anything yet. Remember, if my right leg is now tight, my left leg can go long. I want him to go long because I want him to have space. As he goes to move, how does that feel now? I literally have to use no effort. If I really want to get more space, my left leg goes out for a second to reach over. If I want to, I don't have to worry about, remember, leg curling because this is flexion. I want to extend. If he goes to move, I don't really have to worry about what's going on.